Imagine this. You're caught in a whirlwind romance. Everything is magical. Butterflies in your stomach, late-night texts, and spontaneous laughter. Then, before you know it, you realize you've lost sight of who you are. Your hobbies, gone. Your friends, on the back burner. You've given so much to this relationship that somewhere along the way, you disappeared. Sounds familiar? Welcome to modern dating, the land of high stakes, fast burns, and emotional roller coasters. But here's the catch. Finding true love shouldn't mean losing yourself. If you're juggling between swiping left or right, figuring out how to stay true to you while still finding a genuine connection, well, buckle up, because we're about to drop some truth bombs that'll change your dating game forever. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the end, because the secrets to keeping your identity while finding love might just shock you. Why losing yourself happens more often than you think. Let's kick things off by addressing the elephant in the room. Why do so many of us lose ourselves in relationships? Is it love that blinds us, or are we stepping into dating with blindfolds on? Here's the harsh reality. Most of us walk into relationships thinking we need to be a version of ourselves that's more likable, more attractive, more perfect. Modern dating has turned into a performance. From the perfect dating profile to saying all the right things, we've been trained to act like we're auditioning for the role of a lifetime. But let me ask you this. When you're acting for too long, who are you really at the end of the day? Truth bomb alert. If you're molding yourself into what you think someone else wants, you're slowly chipping away at who you really are. So let's fix that, shall we? Here's how. Step 1. Know your non-negotiables. In the world of modern dating, knowing your non-negotiables is like having a personal GPS system. But the problem is, most of us go into dating without a map. We've all been guilty of compromising on things that matter just to keep someone around or avoid confrontation. Your non-negotiables aren't just preferences like, I want someone tall, or I prefer a good sense of humor. Nope, we're talking about the core values and traits that make up the foundation of who you are and what you truly need in a relationship. Think of it like this. If you value independence, but you date someone who needs to be with you 24/7, it's going to feel suffocating, right? Or if you prioritize honesty, but your partner keeps bending the truth, you're not just sacrificing a small part of yourself, you're setting yourself up for long-term frustration. Here's the kicker. Most people don't identify their non-negotiables until they're knee-deep in a bad relationship. By that point, you're emotionally invested, and backing out feels impossible. So, grab a pen, sit down, and make a list. What do you absolutely need in a partner? Is it honesty, ambition, spiritual alignment, or emotional maturity? When you know your non-negotiables, you save yourself from wasting time with the wrong people. And trust me, that's a power move in modern dating. But here's the plot twist. Knowing your non-negotiables isn't enough. You also have to stick to them. It's easy to bend your own rules when someone seems perfect on paper, but remember, you're not looking for perfect. You're looking for real. Step 2. Never settle for almost right. The almost right trap. This is the land where so many relationships go to die. It's when you meet someone who's almost everything you want, but not quite. They have a good job, they're kind, and the chemistry is solid. But there's that one thing. Maybe they're not emotionally available, maybe they lack ambition, or maybe they just don't share your future vision. But instead of walking away, you convince yourself that it's good enough, and they'll change, or you'll just learn to live with it. Spoiler alert, they won't change, and you shouldn't have to settle. Settling for almost right is like buying a pair of shoes that don't quite fit. Sure, they look great and match your outfit, but wear them long enough and you'll end up with blisters. That's exactly what happens when you compromise on what truly matters to you. Over time, those tiny inconveniences become full-blown resentments. Ask yourself, would you rather wait a little longer for someone who's truly right for you, or spend years in a relationship that's just good enough? Love shouldn't feel like a constant negotiation, and when you stop settling, you make space for the relationship that's actually meant for you. It might take longer to find, but real love is worth the wait. Step 3. Protect your time like it's gold. Let's talk about time management in relationships. One of the most common ways people lose themselves in love is by giving up their personal time. It happens slowly at first. A date night replaces your weekly yoga class. A weekend trip with your partner means skipping out on your book club. Before you know it, your calendar revolves entirely around the other person's life. Now, don't get me wrong. Compromise is a natural part of any relationship. But when you start sacrificing the things that make you you, that's when things get dangerous. Here's the brutal truth. Your time is the most valuable thing you have, and once it's gone, you can't get it back. In a relationship, protecting your time doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you respect yourself enough to keep nurturing your own life. Your hobbies, passions, and personal space are what keep you grounded. They remind you of who you are outside of the relationship. So, whether it's your favorite weekly workout class, your alone time for meditation, or catching up with friends, don't let your relationship steal that from you. A healthy relationship should feel like an addition to your life, not an invasion of it. If your partner truly cares about you, they'll understand and respect your need for personal time. And if they don't, well, that's a red flag. Step 4. Embrace vulnerability, but with boundaries. Vulnerability is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's what allows us to form deep, meaningful connections. On the other hand, if you're not careful, it can leave you wide open for heartbreak or manipulation. The trick to not losing yourself in love is to embrace vulnerability, but with boundaries. Think of it like this. Vulnerability without boundaries is like walking around without any skin. Everything hurts, and you're completely exposed. But vulnerability with boundaries is like wearing armor. You can still open up, but you're protected. You don't need to lay all your cards on the table on the first date. Vulnerability is about letting people see the real you, but that doesn't mean you should throw caution to the wind. Here's the golden rule. Trust should be earned, not given freely. If someone is worthy of your vulnerability, they'll respect your boundaries, not push them. Setting boundaries doesn't mean building walls. It's about knowing your limits and communicating them clearly. It's okay to say, "I'm not ready to talk about that yet," or "I need some space right now." In fact, healthy boundaries often make relationships stronger because they show that you respect yourself and you expect the same from your partner. Step 5. Beware of the relationship chameleon. We've all seen it happen. You start dating someone, and suddenly your entire personality starts to morph into theirs. You're picking up their habits, their lingo, their interests, and somewhere along the way, your own individuality fades into the background. This is what I call the relationship chameleon trap. When you change so much to fit into someone else's life that you lose sight of your own. Don't get me wrong, it's normal to pick up a few new interests or hobbies when you're with someone. But when your entire life starts to revolve around theirs, you're at risk of losing yourself. Here's the key. A healthy relationship shouldn't feel like you're being absorbed into someone else's world. It should feel like two unique individuals coming together to build something new while still maintaining their own identities. To avoid becoming a chameleon, make sure you keep doing the things you love. Keep nurturing your friendships, your passions, and your goals. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new relationship, but the person you're with should enhance your life, not consume it. Step 6. Prioritize self-love over relationship goals. Here's a wild idea. What if, instead of focusing on finding the perfect relationship, you focused on loving yourself first? Self-love is the foundation for every relationship you'll ever have. When you truly love yourself, you set the standard for how others should treat you. But too often, we chase relationship goals, thinking that if we just find the right person, everything will fall into place. Spoiler alert, no one can fill the void of self-love except you. When you prioritize self-love, something magical happens. You stop seeking validation from external sources, including your partner. You know your worth, and you don't need anyone else to define it for you. This doesn't just make you more confident, it makes you less likely to compromise your values or lose yourself in a relationship. Here's the secret. The stronger your relationship with yourself, the better your relationships with others will be. Why? Because self-love teaches you to set boundaries, communicate your needs, and walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. So, before you dive headfirst into love with someone else, make sure you're head over heels in love with yourself first. Step 7. Communicate, communicate, communicate. You've heard it a million times, but it's worth repeating. Communication is key. In fact, clear communication is the backbone of a healthy relationship. But here's the catch. Most people think they're great communicators, when in reality, they're avoiding the tough conversations. It's easy to talk about the good stuff, your dreams, your shared interests, and your future plans. But what about the uncomfortable stuff? The things that actually matter when it comes to not losing yourself in love? Like discussing boundaries, unmet needs, or moments when you feel like you're compromising too much. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't speak up for yourself in a relationship, you'll eventually lose your voice. And once that happens, it's only a matter of time before you start losing yourself. Don't wait until you're frustrated to speak your mind. Make communication a regular practice. Check in with yourself and your partner often. Are your needs being met? Are you still feeling like your authentic self in the relationship? If the answer is no, then it's time for an honest conversation. Remember, it's not about avoiding conflict. It's about addressing it in a way that strengthens your bond and keeps you grounded in who you are. Step 8. Trust your gut. Last but certainly not least, trust your gut. Your intuition is one of the most powerful tools you have when it comes to navigating relationships. It's that little voice inside that tells you when something feels off, even if you can't quite put your finger on it. Too often, we ignore our intuition in relationships. We make excuses for our partner's behavior. We convince ourselves that things will get better, or we rationalize away our own discomfort. But the truth is, your gut knows what's best for you long before your mind catches up. If you ever feel like you're losing yourself in a relationship, if you're compromising too much, bending your boundaries, or feeling out of alignment, trust that instinct. It's your inner compass, guiding you back to your true self. Here's the bottom line. A healthy relationship will never make you question your worth or force you to sacrifice who you are. When you trust your gut, you honor yourself, and that's the ultimate act of self-love. And there you have it. In a world where dating feels like a game and love seems to come with a price tag, the truth is simple. You don't have to lose yourself to find love. Stay true to your values, protect your time, set your boundaries, and, most importantly, love yourself first. Because when you do that, the right kind of love will naturally follow.